fellas, let's go. Here we go. Big play. Trips open right, 334 stretch, Z post, X stop, on two. Ready?
This is my dad's show.
It's called the Quarterback Dadcast.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast, and I'm excited to get to this next episode. But before that, I want to talk to you about my friends up at Acme Homes, which is one of the top home builders in the state of Washington. They're a home builder founded on the principles of honesty, integrity, and the goal of really building dreams for their customers. And what I love most about Acme is I know the owner. He's a former college teammate of mine, and he found the Quarterback Dadcast because of our friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods, who've been a sponsor for us for now almost over a year. But what I love about Acme Homes, not because I love Bob and he's a salt of the earth guy, but when I had a chance to look at their website, when I had the chance to look at some of their homes and the craftsmanship, I was blown away. Established in 2006, Acme Homes provides itself on quality professional service. They're innovative, functional. They have beautiful designs, competitive pricing, but most above all, you get what you pay for, and you get service. And Bob and his team consistently are one of the top home builders in the state of Washington. And right now, I want you to visit their site at acmehomeswa.com. That's acmehomeswa.com to learn about Sienna Heights. Over in Wenatchee right now, where it's always sunny, you can look at some amazing floor plans. They have anywhere from 1,900 square feet to 2,600 square feet. You got 4-bedroom, you got 3-bedroom. These homes start in the low 500,000. And as we think about getting away from this yucky Seattle weather right now, now's the time. With everybody having more flexibility to work remote and get to the east side of the state, now's the time to invest in that second home or maybe that first home you're going to move over to Wenatchee. Now's the time to do it. So I ask you to contact Bob and his team now at Acme, which is 425-903-1453. Also, if you have real estate inquiries, contact Jennifer or Denise at 425-308-8082 or 425-309-2318. So, huge shout out to Bob and team at Acme. I welcome you to the Quarterback Dadcast, and I hope that everyone takes time out of their day to take a look at Sienna Heights. But with that, let's get to today's episode. Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast, and today's interview is a special one, specifically for us quarterbacks. And even if you've never played quarterback, the people that you got to make happy are your offensive linemen. And I get an opportunity to talk to a lineman who spent 4 years at Florida State, who went on to play for the Carolina Panthers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're blessed to have an opportunity to speak to Todd Fordham, who came to the Quarterback Dadcast from Marcy Stout. So Marcy, thank you so much for the introduction. And as a lifelong Seahawks fan, I will be protesting his game ball he received against my Hawks, but we'll save that for a future show. But joking aside, we're not here to talk about so much as football. We're here to talk about Todd the dad and how he's striving to be the ultimate quarterback or offensive lineman of his family. So Mr. Fordham, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Thank you so much, Casey. Thanks for having me, and definitely a big shout out to Marcy Stout, who joined us together or at least helped introduce us.
That's right. Well, cool. Well, tell us about what does life look like? Actually, before I get started, I want to know, what are you most grateful for as a father today?
I am most grateful for a couple things, but the main thing that I think leads to the second thing is I'm most grateful for my relationship with the Lord. I think without that I would definitely be selling my wife and my kids short, and because that helps me keep my life in check and make sure that I am always striving to be the best version of myself that I can be from a father and a dad standpoint, and in all areas of my life. But those are the things that really that I really value, is my relationship with the Lord, and which leads me to have a phenomenal relationship with my wife and also my kids.
That's awesome. Well said, brother. My gratitude. I'm going to give a shout out. I've given a lot of love to my wife in these things, but it's an easy one for me to do. But I'm going to give some gratitude towards her. My wife's unfortunately going through some health challenges right now, and so I'm just grateful for the fact that someone who's a busy person and who likes to do a lot of things. She's finally just taken a step back and asking for help and letting us, me as the father and husband and kids, just try to step up our game and try to figure out ways to take some pressure off mom, which, any good quarterback in the household, man, the wives are definitely the general manager. And
that's for sure.
So, well, tell us about yourself and your family. What does the current life look like right now at home?
Yeah, so it's one thing I will tell you is, as you just said, your wife being the general manager, she her job is not easy. We have 5 kids, and I work a full-time job in the medical sales world. I help coach at one of our local high schools here, and I'm also the head coach of my local middle school. And so I stay busy. We have 4 boys that are all either playing ball or have played ball, and my oldest son, who is now he went to play college ball up at Methodist, and then when all the COVID stuff happened, he left and came back home because he really wants to get into coaching, and so he came back and came back home, and which is great for us because he's so helpful, and got him a part-time job and is going to the local university here, University of North Florida, and coaching both with me and working and going to school. And then I have a freshman son that's at North Carolina State playing football there. He just this is his first year, and so he's there. And then I have my junior son, who is obviously a junior at Bowles High School here in Jacksonville and playing ball. And then my 8th grade son is on the middle school team. And then my 4th and final is my little daughter. And she's 11, and she is wide open as well, from guitar to basketball to softball. She is nonstop. So currently, I just came home so I could do this with you, Casey, and my wife. I passed her as I was walking in. She was walking out, and she was taking one to the church for a youth group time, and then one to tutoring. So it's a busy life for us, but man, we wouldn't have it any other way. It's awesome.
That's so cool. Well, so I got to ask, as a lineman, did you produce fellow linemen, or did you produce some skill position guys?
It's crazy. Each one of these kids are different. And so my oldest son played defensive end, and then he came. Obviously he came back. So he ends up being about 6'3", and he's about at his biggest, he was probably 6'3", 265, 270. And then my second son, who's at NC State, is he's about 6'2", 230, and he's playing linebacker. And he's a very athletic kid, and so he's doing well with that. Now my third son is an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, and he's about 6'2". He's a junior. He's 6'2", about 280 right now. And
Dang.
then their little brother is going to outgrow them all. He plays a little bit of quarterback and tight end right now in middle school, and he's already capped. I mean, he's an 8th grader, and he's already hit over the 6'2" mark, and he's about 190 pounds. So I don't know. We got a little bit of everything going on here. So we'll see what they all end up.
Wow. There's a guy I played football with in college, a roommate of mine. His son ended up being a stud quarterback. So I always give him a hard time. I was like, how did you teach your son to throw when you were just blocking for me? And we have a good joking about it. But he's super good athlete, and he was a very athletic lineman. But that's awesome. And was your wife athletic too?
She was. She played softball and basketball in high school, and her brother, who was went to our high school too, was a little bit younger than us. He was a very athletic kid. Played on a state champ. They lost in the state championship, but a state championship safety, and was all over the field. Was an unbelievable player, and had a chance to go play at some smaller schools, but just that wasn't the route he wanted to go. He loved the game, but just didn't want to go play at the next level. And so her family was pretty athletic too, and then she's competitive and I'm competitive. So we we have some competitive kids.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, I want to dive back to when Todd grew up and understand the impact your parents had on you that's now had an impact on how you raise your kids.
Yes. So I grew up in Tifton, Georgia, and I grew up on a farm in a small little town. I say Tifton, Georgia, because where I grew up, hardly nobody would ever understand where that was. So Tifton, Georgia is the closest, big town where I went to high school, but I grew up on a farm, and a lot of the things that my wife will tell me all the time. She goes, you're really acting like your dad right now, because my dad he was a military guy, and he was so specific on how he wanted things done, and things had to be done, a certain way. And so he's always wanted certain things done, or wanted things done a certain way and kind of his way. And so he was hard on me growing up, always pushing me to be the best I could be at whatever I was doing. And on the farm, he used to always tell me, and some of the things that he tells me, I talk to my kids about appreciating what you have. And because my dad used to always say, look, son, I can promise you as your dad that we're always going to have what we need, but we may not have everything we ever wanted. And I said, hey, I get it. I didn't get it at that point in time because, growing up in the country and where I grew up, I tell my boys all the time, I said, you tell me you can't find something to watch on this TV. I said, I grew up and only had 2 channels. And I said, that was usually me turning the antenna. And I said, and so, when you went to go to somebody's house, you were either walking to your grandmother's or your aunt's, because you couldn't get any further because everybody was too far away. And I said, and y'all fuss about having a phone. Well, I said, don't worry about your phones. I said, when I was growing up, you picked up the line, and you better be careful that you didn't say something, because grandma might be on the other line, because it was a party line. There was like 3 or 4 of us on the same one. So, it's there's a lot of things I learned from a work ethic value that really matter to me, that I try to teach my kids about how to do things the right way. Not only just, what you do from a work standpoint, but also being a great husband to your wife and stuff. So I tried to pass that on to my kids like my dad did. And one of the things that he and both my mom did is they made sure that on Sundays we were in church. And it doesn't mean that we didn't make mistakes, or that they lived a perfect life, but they were going to make sure you were in church on Sunday, and that you understood, where your blessings came from, and who your Savior was. And so that was always really good for me. And that's the same things that I do with my kids now, is that, you're going to make mistakes in life, and you're going to have these things that happen, but just understand. And I wanted them to understand really, really quick that, look, they're beautiful in their God's eyes, their Savior's eyes, and that needs to always be their goal, and to do things unto Him and not to me or not to anybody else. And it's always hard. I see dads all the time and struggle sometimes with kids, because they really push their kids to be unbelievable athletes and put so much pressure on them. And I'm hard on my kids, because I've coached each one of them, and I'm hard on them to do things right. But at the end of the day, I said, look, you don't need to do any of this to please me. This isn't for me. I've done my time. I've had my opportunity. This is about you and your journey. And I'm here to help you. Now, I'm here to help you, and I'm going to push you to be hard. But look, you need to love it, and you need to go out and do it to the best of your ability, and to become the best that you can be for your journey, not for mine.
No, I love that, man. It's great advice. I heard, I think I heard Joe Montana interviewed by Russell Wilson one day, and Joe Montana, either his parents or someone told him, he said, do you want to be the best, or do you want to be your best?
Yeah.
And that just hit home for me, because if we can be our best, that's what we have control over. We can't control for the best, because there's so many things that we don't control.
Right.
And it's just a nice way to, I found to keep me grounded, keep my kids grounded on not being focused on the outcome. That's right. And more focused on, and I give a lot of love to my friend, Todd, named Bert, on the East Coast. And we had this one talk one day, which really boiled down to, like, what's our end game for our kids? Is it to have, like, bench X? Is it to do this or do that? Or is it just to be a good freaking human being? Like shakes hand, looks someone in the eye, shows up on time, good teammate, good leader, good husband, wife, whatever it may be. Like that's success. Not that they scored 20 points in a random basketball tournament in a town you'll never remember.
That's right. Correct.
What did mom and dad do for a living?
My mom was a teacher, and my dad was a farmer, and then he also ran a local peanut company. Where your farmers brought the peanuts to the market, basically, if you will. He ran that, so he was a hard everyday worker, and my mom was a school teacher at my high school, and so they believed in work.
Awesome. Are mom and dad still with us?
So dad passed away 2 years ago. And that's always a tough deal, because there's still days you think about it, you wake up and I was like, man, I'd love to be able to ask my dad that or have my dad help me with that. And just because he and I were close, and I always, I can't say I always listened to his advice because, of course I knew everything much better than he did, like every dad, you tell your kids something to do, and they sometimes you wonder if they even hear you. And but I'd always loved to hear his thought process because he was a simple guy, and he'd always kind of thought things through, was never very reactionary, from that standpoint. He'd kind of think it through and then kind of figure out what the positives and negatives were, and then do something about it. So I always loved to hear his advice. Mom's still with me. She lives here locally in Jacksonville. When Dad passed away, I asked, I thought it'd be better for her to move closer to me, and so I could help her. So she's here local, so she gets to go to the kids' games and gets to come over and give me and my wife a break every once in a while, and then by the time we come back, and we can only be gone a day and leave her with the kids, because we come back and she goes, I got to go home and rest. So
that's great. That's great. Well, I'd love to understand the challenges of being a dad in the NFL. One specifically lineman. Like I always joke, like I didn't play football because quarterbacks, we don't play football. Like linemen played football, like sore, legit. And I joke, I'm tongue in cheek of us quarterbacks out there, but like talk about the challenges of being a dad in the NFL, the wear and tear in the body, but also still being present when you were home.
Yeah. And so it was a little crazy, to be honest with you. And I, here again, I have to really, take my hat off to my wife because, in those early days of my, first three sons, my fourth son was born the year I retired. And so the early days with my first three sons, a lot of times my wife was a single mom, because I was so busy during the season, or I'd go away for training camp, and it was her and the boys. And she never complained once, or ever even made it feel like that she needed my help because she was going to take care of the house. And I can remember, and I didn't even think about how it is, getting on an airplane with three kids and traveling across country, or anywhere with three boys, and she did that a number of times where she'd get on an airplane and fly from, like if we were if she was in Jacksonville and I was up in Pittsburgh or somewhere, she'd bring those boys up there, and then we'd get situated and all. And then when I got traded from Pittsburgh to Carolina, it was she took my newborn son at that point in time and flew up there with a lady that helped us at the time, flew up there and basically packed up the house with the moving company herself and moved us to Carolina, moved us in and got us situated the whole time I was playing football. So I tell people all the time, to be a successful dad and have a crazy kind of, few months of playing football, the key to it is have a strong woman. and my wife was unbelievable. So it made it a lot easier for me. And so my kids loved it. My older two really remember it well. My third son remembers it in Carolina the last couple of years. He remembers some of it, but he didn't get to experience it as much. But my other two do remember it well. They loved it. And I think, there's a lot of benefits from that I think help me teach my kids certain things. And I tell people all the time, the NFL was, something that I did for a period of time in my life. I love the game, love everything about it, love to be involved in it now still as a coach. But it was just something that I did at a point in time in my life that, I had always dreamed about doing. But at the end of the day, it was something that God had given me the talent to do, and I did. But
Mm-hmm.
the one key thing that I teach my sons and tell people is that it was what I did. It was not who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I never wanted to become just that NFL guy. That's who I was, an NFL guy. I wanted to be much more than that. And so I never wanted them to think that the NFL took precedence over anything. And that's not who I wanted to be. I wanted to be much more than just that. And so that part of it for me helped me teach my kids some valuable lessons. And then probably more as I got out of the NFL, but having played 10 years, I mean, there's days where I just don't feel quite as good as others, and especially after about 8 surgeries.
Mm.
I think the thing is that my sons obviously, they think their dad's the hero and thinks he can do anything. And I can remember them after I retired. I'd be out of the league, 4 or 5 years, and my sons go, "Why did you quit playing? Why didn't you just keep playing?" But there's some days I get up, and if somebody hit me, I might just ball up and start crying. And, but they think you're a hero. You can keep going. And but what I wanted them to see is that I wasn't going to sit idle because I'd played in the NFL and think that I was something special. What I wanted them to see is a dad that got up and went to work every day and tried to continue to provide for his family and do the right things. And then also help them understand is that, look, it's so hard to get to college and play football and then go on to the NFL and play football. And, you have to catch quite a few breaks and stuff. But part of it is that, like you said, do you want to be the best version of yourself and what's going to set you apart from the other people? And I teach them and talk to them all the time about outworking your opponent in whatever area it is in your life. And then help them understand that, look, just because I played in the NFL doesn't mean you're any less if you don't play in the NFL. You be the best version. I don't know what God's called you to do. I don't know what his plans for you are, and maybe yours isn't the NFL. But that doesn't mean you failed because you didn't make it to the NFL. I'm not holding you accountable if you don't make it to the. I want you to just play as long as you want to play, love the game, and play it as hard as you can. But hey, the day you want to hang up your cleats, you're no less to me. I'm going to pat you on the back and say, man, great job. Let's go get after something else. And those are the things that I try to bring back from the NFL and help my kids to understand and people around me is that, the NFL was great and I loved every minute of it. Made some unbelievable friends playing in the NFL. But the one thing that I want all people to understand is that me playing in the NFL was just a period of time in my life that, I was talented enough to do it from my God-given talent and a lot of hard work. But that's not who I am. I'm not, defined by the NFL. I'm more defined by my wife and my kids and how much I help them to be successful in life.
It's well said, man. I think so many of these episodes I've had with dads, whether you're an NFL, a stay-at-home dad, a CEO, a sports psychologist, a head coach it don't matter. I mean, it matters, but in the end, the thing I love about talking to dads is we all have that in common, and we all can take we all get the same business card. It says dad.
That's right.
And we all get the same job description. It says, raise your kids, joking aside, keep them out of jail, teach them manners, teach them how to treat women, teach them how to treat their friends, their family, those things. And that's really the goal of this is just to, you just articulated well, is like, be authentic to yourself. Don't try to be someone you're not. I'm passionate about the number 1,440, which is the number of minutes in the day.
Uh-huh.
and that's all I got. And if I have a bad 1440, the good news that clock resets tomorrow.
Yep.
And just like in football, we got taught. I mean, me at a much lower level than you, obviously, but like, don't let one bad play impact a drive, a quarter, a half. And then next thing you know, what the hell just happened? Versus like, you got to flush it.
Mm-hmm.
And you ever watch Ted Lasso, the show?
No.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a hilarious show. He talks about being a goldfish, and they say goldfish has the shortest memory of any living thing on life. And it's just like, whether that speaks to me as a quarterback, it speaks to me as a as a seller when I was doing that. No matter what I was doing, like one bad play, it's over. Then we got to move on.
Yes.
Well, you kind of mentioned your body. I mean, how did you keep your body from holding it together? And then how now post football? Because I mean, I played at the Division II level, and there's times my back is a disaster. Can't even imagine what it feels like to be an NFL player.
Yeah, it's there's certain days that I wake up and I go to get out of bed and my feet hit the floor and it just doesn't feel very good. So it takes me a while, and my wife, she doesn't, not in a bad way, but she laughs at me. She goes, "Man, you don't look like you're walking too good today," and that takes me a little while to get going. And but she's really pushed me hard too, and I haven't done a great job of it. Now I'm really dialed in the last month, and just because I'm getting to that age, I'm 48 or will be 48 in a month, and I'm getting to that age to where I really have to take care of my body, and so I'm on a mission right now to, and she's doing it with me. She's always been in a lot better shape than I have, and a lot better taking care of herself than I have, and so she's doing it with me, and we're on a mission right now to get in the best shape of our lives since we married, and 23 years ago. So it's we are working hard, and so that I tell you, it's when I work out and do what I'm supposed to do and live what I don't let too many things distract me and get in the way of or become an excuse for my working out and staying healthy and eating correctly. Then I really feel good. I mean, I'm a good sore the last few days of really working out hard, opposed to just aching. And I believe, and I've talked to a number of doctors. I'm in medical sales and work in the sports medicine and spine arena for medical sales, and talking to a lot of the docs that I work with, I'm a true believer that if you're active and you do something every day and keep your joints old up, that you feel a lot better. And I think when you stop doing that it's those things kind of quit getting old, and that's when they start really hurting. So I'm feeling better now, and but there's still days that just aren't just right, and there's some things that I probably can't enjoy as much as I probably would have had I not played as long as I played, but I wouldn't change a bit of it. I would go play again for 10, 15 more years if I could, if I had that opportunity, to do it all over again, because I just loved it. I loved the game. I loved the chess match of the game. I loved the dudes in the locker room. I loved the laughs and building camaraderie, guys that are walking through the same things you are as men, with trying to raise a family and have a wife that you care deeply about. And so you walk through those things, you build relationships that are real, and there's not much different. I know there's a few guys that I still very, very close with and talk to, and with all the struggles that our country has gone through in the last few years with some of that stuff. And, the one thing that, is common to all those guys is, man, you sure wish everybody could experience a locker room. That's we value that. And that's one of the things people ask me all the time. What are the three things you miss the most about the NFL? And the three things to me, and obviously number one is I loved the locker room. The locker room was just so fun to me. I loved all the things about it, the pranks, the laughs, the disagreements, and I loved it. The second thing is I loved game day. I loved to walk out and play a game and compete. And then obviously the third thing was I missed the paychecks in the NFL. But that's part of it. It was so fun to me to get paid to play a game that I just absolutely loved.
That's awesome. Um, so as a coach, as you think about today's coaching environment, I'd love to know from your perspective, someone who's reached the epitome of, your sport. Tell me one thing you love about youth sports and one thing you would change. Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with Quarterback Dadcast, and we're going to take a quick break right now to talk about Catch Sitka Seafoods, who's been with our kind sponsors now for nearly a year. And so thanks to Assam and Mindy and team up at Catch Sitka Seafoods. And so I want to talk about something today that might be a little early, you might be thinking, but it's not. It's going to be here before we know it. And that is, let's get ahead of it and let's think about holiday shopping specifically for our clients. So they have holiday gift boxes that are amazing. You can get wild Alaskan salmon, halibut, Applewood smoked fish. I've had them all. They're amazing. But what they have also that's really, really great is a commemorative cedar plank made from the Sitka cedar. Perfect for creating that sea cuttery board, and a jar of their incredible Catch Sitka seafood sea salt made from the cold, clear waters of the Pacific, and absolutely perfect, a final touch to your plate and platter. So with that, don't wait. Get on their site right now to catchsitkaseafoods.com and order some holiday gifts. Get ahead of it. They have subscription models very available. Again, catchsitkaseafoods.com. Now let's get back to the rest of this episode.
The one thing that I absolutely love about youth sports is I think from my standpoint is because you had mentioned it a little bit earlier. I don't focus on results. I focus on the process of learning how to play the game. The results will come if you take care of the process as you're working down the ledge, if you will. And so I really focus on, hey, I'm going to focus on this process, and I'm never going to talk about us being judged by the scoreboard. We're going to be judged by how well we're working down the process of becoming the best version of ourselves and of this team that we can be. And so I think for me, the reason I love it so much is because I think kids are so moldable at that age. And I can take the game of football that we play and love, and I can use that to teach young men so much about being the best they can be, doing the little things right, never allowing getting knocked on your butt be a reason that you don't get back up and get in the game. All of those things and all the cliché-est things that you've heard coaches say, I take those things to heart and really try to teach kids the game of life through the game of football and worry about the process more than I worry about the result of winning the game. And we've been a very successful team if you just look at records and all that. But I think where we've been successful is we've gotten some young men to not only come through our program and play youth sports, but go on to play high school and college ball. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with just the way that we taught them that it's about learning how to be the best version of yourself, doing all the little things right. And so one of the things that I always tell that, when I first meet with the kids is, look, I don't want you to just be the best version of yourself out here on this field. I want you to be the best version of yourself as a son, as a brother, as anything that your mom asks you to do. If she asks you to take out the garbage, you better be the best garbage man of the day. I want you to be the best version of everything you're asked to do. There's only one way to do it. And I always use this to the kids I coach is that the world is full of average people. Mm-hmm. And I said, for me, I want you guys to not be average. I want you to be great. But there's something that takes people being great is what average people aren't willing to do. Doesn't mean they're not good people. They're good people. There's a lot of good people in this world that just aren't willing to go the extra mile to do things at a great level to achieve greatness. And I said, and that's the difference. That's what I want you to do. And so for me, I love coaching because I absolutely love molding young men into being something more than just a football player, just a male. I mean, I want to see men that are changing the world, that become a very productive person in their society and in their communities. And so that's how I approach coaching. That's why I love it so much.
Maybe for dads out there who are listening, they're like, man, well, how do you do it? Because some, like you mentioned earlier, you kind of joke, like sometimes your dad would say something, maybe you heard him, but you didn't listen to him all the time. So do you have any like best practices or things that maybe dads could take away from this conversation on ways to help get kids to see that process and be less so outcome focused? Because that's where I think the anxiety comes from, is like they didn't make the putt, they missed the free 3-pointer, they got picked off, they missed the block.
Yeah. Well, and my way of doing it is this: is that look, I and my son even mentioned it last night at the dinner table. And there was a kid that we were talking about, and he decided he didn't want to play football anymore. And I thought the kid had some ability, and this wasn't a kid that I had known, but this was a different kid. And so I asked him, I said, why do you think he quit? And he said, well, I asked him, and he goes, man, it was just so mundane. It was so repetitive, everything we did. And I go, well, repetition is what makes you achieve greatness. If you compete and on every rep to be the best you can be, eventually you're going to get to where you become great at that rep. And so I go back to what I think from a dad standpoint and what I've seen with my kids. The biggest thing that a kid needs to see, in my opinion, is to be consistent. You have to be a consistent dad. You have to know when to come down on a kid because they continuously do something wrong, and you have to correct them. And I tell my boys all the time, not only my sons, but the kids I play, is look, I don't care if you score a touchdown. That's not what I'm here for. I care that you ran the ball through the right hole, you made the right cut, you held the ball in the right hand. Those are the things I'm going to stay on you regardless, because you can score a touchdown because maybe the other team made a mistake. But did you do what was right from your standpoint to play, to be the best player at that position at that given time if the other team did the right thing? And so I'm always on them about being consistent and continuously practice the repetitions over and over and over and over again, doing it the right way. Now, if you continuously do reps the wrong way and you let it slide by, whether you're a coach or a dad, then you're going to get those results. So that's why I say it's more about the process. I want to make sure they're doing the reps exactly the right way. I want to make sure my kids are making their bed the right way, that they're not having to be asked to do certain things, that they see things that need to be done and they do it the right way because they know what needs to be done. And so I'm constantly on them about those little things. And, and my sons will always say, I know, I got it, Dad, I got it, I'll get it. And I go, no, I want it now. I want you to do those things and do it right and do it now, so I don't have to tell you to do it, because that's what I'm working towards. I don't want to have to tell you. I want you to see those things and do it right. And that's the same thing I tell my players.
I love it. Tyler. You made me think of a couple of things. One, last night, my son's 15, and like over the last 2 years, we've been working on, yep, Dad, yep, I know. I'm like, I don't want to hear I know. I want to hear yes, Dad.
Yep.
I want to hear yes, Dad. And I know I'm not in the military, bro, but like, show respect, because if you show me respect, you're going to show other moms and dads respect when you leave the house. So yes. And so like last night, he wanted to do something. I said, bro, I asked you to do it. Don't let me ask again. He's like, yep, yes, Dad. And he just got on. I was like, oh my God, it worked.
There you go.
You know? But the other thing I was going to think about is like you said something that I talk about a lot, and Marcy and I talked about this in our business world. So I do sales and leadership coaching, and as teaching, which I think I joke, it's common sense, but not commonly practiced. And one of the word is the word practice. And I think that is one of the hugest gifts we can give our kids as they get into whatever they do, because, when they're, 5 years old to 18, if they're playing sports, piano, theater, whatever they're doing, they're taught to practice, yet they enter the business world and they decide to wing it. Like you went from the NFL to medical sales, and you just magically going to know all this stuff. No, you got to learn like the products. How does it help? What's important to the doctor? Practice some of those scripts. How does that conversation going to sound instead of just winging it? And so I love that you're teaching reps, because that is, I think, something that us as dads can definitely teach our kids before they enter the whatever world they enter.
Yes.
Okay. So as we think about, being the ultimate leader, sometimes it takes us to talk about things we are an area of our game where we're not the best version of ourselves, which is, as humans, we're all flawed. I wish that I was perfect, so far from it. As you think about that, Todd, is there an area of your dad game that you're really having to focus on being self-aware that other dads at home might be able to relate to, that's saying, oh man, I make that same mistake too? Like, for example, mine's patience. I have to be so cognizant of patience. Tell me what comes to mind for you of an area of your dad game you're looking to improve on.
Yeah, well, you just stole it from me. I was going to tell you. I have to really be cognizant of this patience, because I would have to say that most dads probably fall into this, or I'm sure a lot of dads do. And I used to think the same thing with my dad. Like he would want certain things done a certain way, or he would want you. He didn't have any patience that I remember. But I think I'm better than him already. I got some patience, but at the end of the day, my wife would probably tell you that you're just like your dad. You don't have patience, and because there's certain things, and I fall in it just like the rest of this world does, and it's something that I have to be cognizant of all the time. Is that as dads, we know what the end result should look like. And as I told you, that I focus so much on the process of getting to that end result, not the end result. But yet we know what certain things should look like when they get to that end result. But it's kind of like what I refer to about, even with your life, when we look at a tombstone, we look at the day you were born and the day you died. And really your whole life's made up of that little dash. And so I look at that as the process. What's the process that you're going through in that dash? And so I say that to say, we know what the end result looks like, but what are we doing to get to that point? And sometimes we get so result oriented that we want to get to the end before we're walked through the process. And I fall into that, because I can look at my sons who are learning how to do certain things. They're not where I'm at. And so I can catch myself at times going, man, you just sounded just like your own dad, that you used to hate so much when he would do that. But yet you just did what he did, because for instance, if I tell my son, I want you to go out there and I want you to clean up that garage the way I would clean it up. And they go out there and they bust their butt and they do their job. And I go out there and then I pick, they did an unbelievable job, but there's some things that they didn't do quite the way I would do it. And then I bust their butt about those things they didn't do just right. But yet I don't pat them on the back about the things they did well, because I want them to get, in my mind, I think they should be at the end of knowing how to do it the way that I did it, or the way I would do it. And so I lose the patience of what that process is about. And that's why patience in that process, it takes patience to walk through the process, to learn how to do things the right way as a father, as a son. And I struggle with that at times, because I want to jump to the end result too many times. And so I have to continuously remind myself, and I think we fall into it all the time as dads, and just as a country in general. We want to get to the end. We want to get to the end result. And you talked about it earlier. When you jump into a workforce, and especially, like for my workforce, for example, you can get into medical sales and you not really be worth anything for the first year, because you don't really understand all the dynamics of the products you're using. You don't understand how to talk to a surgeon and talk to him about using your product and what the benefits are, when to talk to him and all those things, build a relationship with him. And so our country has become so I don't know if it's just about results or what it is, but they've become so oriented that, I want my gratification now. And I do that as a dad sometimes. I want my gratification of all the work I put in to try to raise my kids and teach them these things. I want all that now. Well, you know what? They're only 16, 17 years old, and they don't understand all of that now. You still have to walk out the process with them. And sometimes we get impatient about that, just like
Mm-hmm.
you had talked about earlier. At some point I'm going to send my kid off and they're going to, have their job and but they're going to have to start at the bottom. And I
Mm-hmm.
want them to understand that, look, you start at the bottom because you need to learn every step of all your jobs so you know how to do it before you can get to the top and lead somebody and teach them how to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the part I struggle with too, brother. I mean, patience is a tough deal, and I struggle with that bad.
Yeah, you did a good job articulating something that I struggle with, and I've talked to other dads. Is sometimes in our mind we have this vision of what the outcome looks like. We
Yes.
see it so clear, but we're not communicating it to our family or our loved ones, our friends. And then when it doesn't happen, we get frustrated. I'm like, what? Why it didn't happen the way I wanted to? But I'm like, I'm learning. I'm the problem, not
Yeah,
them.
that's right.
And when we can talk about that, it just kind of helps slow me down. Like, okay. And I just by talking like through this podcast journey, like when I find myself getting frustrated, I'm like, okay, am I frustrated at someone else, the environment, or do I got to look at the mirror and watch some film here? Like,
Right.
did I throw a pick without knowing it? Like, yep, that's on me.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so before we get into some quick fun lightning round, I want to just, as we think about wrapping up this conversation for dads at home, what would be like 2 or 3 actionable mindsets or thoughts they can take from our episode that would really help them be cognizant and present about being that ultimate quarterback or leader of their home? What would come to mind?
Yep. So I think, for me, the one thing I have to focus on is be consistent. Be consistent in the things that I talk to my kids about. Be consistent on what I expect from them. Be consistent on the way I love them. Just be consistent. The second thing is, I don't know if it's the second thing, but the one the other part of that is there has to be a balance. You have to raise your kids up and help them to understand that, look, I am helping you on your journey. I've been called as your father to help you achieve the greatest version of yourself you can be. And so I'm going to always be correcting you, coaching you, teaching you, and those things. And so when you do something that I don't think is right or the way that should be done, then you know what? I'm going to correct you. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but I'm going to correct you because I believe that's what I'm supposed to do. But the balancing part that I talk about and I think about with that is you also have to provide affirmation to a kid and then also know when to pat them on the back when they do some things the right way and build them up. You can't continuously tear somebody down and not ever be willing to pat them on the back and tell them great job, because we all need that too. I don't mind you coaching me hard and correcting me all the time. Doggone it, when I get it right, I need to hear, I want to hear you say, hey, that's the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a balancing thing that we have to understand as dads, that, you know what, there's need to be times where you pat a guy on the back and go, hey, great job, bud. You did it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing, and I think the most important thing for all dads, and I think we struggle at times because we try to maintain that masculinity, we're not soft, type thing, is one of the things that I try to make sure that I do is let my kids know I love them. And I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're playing football. I don't care if you're not if you gave me your best in school and you made a B or a C, but you gave me everything you got, guess what? But I still love you. I still
Yep.
love you. I don't care if you get a scholarship to go play football in college. Guess what? But I still love you. I don't care. I want them to know that without a doubt that no matter what, no matter if they make a mistake, no matter if they do it the best and they win it, whatever, it may be, I want them to know I love them no matter what. And so I don't ever want them to ever guess or think or even have to worry about, does that man in that house that runs that house, does he love me? Because I want them to know that. I want my daughter to know that her dad loves her with all his heart. And so those are the three things that I really focus on. And I think men struggle with the last one a lot, with the love part, because they're, a lot of times men aren't easy to love. because
Yep.
they want to, they're not willing to be vulnerable and to let people love them and care for them. And I don't want my sons to be like that. I want them to understand that I love them, that other people love them, and that they need to love people. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's those are the three things that I really focus on, and I try to send my kids every day, some scriptures and stuff, and just tell them, how proud I am or how happy I am of them, of everything that they're doing, and that you know what, if you have a question for me, just come to me, and just so they know that, and that's my goal.
Love it. That's super, super well said. Three powerful things that we can do. And one of the things reason I started this podcast was really about number three. I think dudes, we don't like to show emotion, but maybe it's because I play quarterback, Todd, but like you get a good episode of Punky Brewster or the Golden Girls, I'll tear up,
There you go. There you go.
Or I'm joking aside, but like, it's okay to show emotion. Like we spent some time in Palm Springs let's see, it would have been October of last year. And, we watching movies in the hotel room. All of a sudden, God, got some tear jerkers. My wife's, I'm like, oh, what are you ordering? All of a sudden, Dad's starting to tear up, and my daughter's like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "No, I'm not crying. You're crying." Just joking. But I was like, "Yeah, I'm crying. It's a sad movie. It's like a happy sad." It made me think about how much I love you guys and how much I appreciate where I'm at. And I said, "You guys will understand this once you go through it." But whenever you keep those emotions in, our body can only hold so many before we explode, good or bad. And so I'd rather just be transparent, be the one that goes first, whether I fail or succeed. If I help someone else, open up, then hey, I'm doing my part that God called me to do.
That's right. 100%.
Okay. So now we go into what's called the lightning round, which I'm sure you played with a lot of quarterbacks that had a screw loose that were complete goofballs.
Yep.
I definitely have a screw loose and like to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Your job, Todd, is to answer me as quickly as you can with just a succinct answer.
Okay.
We're going to start with some true and false. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. True or false? You had 30 pancake blocks your senior year in college.
True.
True or false? You once benched 875 pounds.
That's false.
True or false? Marcy taught you how to properly hit the sled.
False.
Okay. Last book you read.
Last book I read. I think Good to Great.
Ooh, good one, Jim. Favorite movie?
Smokey and the Bandit.
There we go. I'm coming to your house tonight. What is Todd cooking for me?
Steak for sure.
Okay. 2 words to describe your life so far.
Fulfilled and hungry.
Love that, man. Tell me where your dream vacation is.
I think my dream vacation has become taking my wife to Hawaii. Neither one of us have ever been there, so we keep talking about doing it, and I keep putting it off. I said, it needs to be this anniversary, and so I think that has become she and I together's dream vacation.
There we go. It's a must. I'm Seattle, so I'm a lot closer than you. It's well worth the. I'm a big Kona guy. If you're looking for an island to go to, I love Kona.
Perfect.
Favorite NFL stadium you've ever played in?
Favorite NFL stadium I've ever played. I think I played in a lot of them. Some of my favorites, just because I love the history, would be Green Bay or Chicago, just because of those histories of those two stadiums.
Okay. Try to put you on the spot here. This one, toughest quarterback you ever blocked for?
Toughest meaning that they were tough, or
yeah, like toughest, like you saw, like you're like a lineman, like, man, I got that QB quarterback. He's hanging in there, taking some shots today, or he died for the first down. Like,
there's a couple of those, but 2 of the ones that just were tough nuts that really fun to play with. One of them was a former Washington Husky, Mark Brunell.
Oh yeah,
and then Jake Delhomme.
He was tough. Now that's a good memory. He used to freaking take. Yeah, that was a fun guy to watch.
Oh yeah.
And then funniest moment in the NFL you feel like sharing?
Funniest moment in the NFL. Let's see. Well, there was one pretty funny one that I would share. There's a ton of them, but I don't know. I don't have permission to use some of them. One of the funniest ones is we were playing in Buffalo one time, and I was this was I think maybe my 10th year, and so I was a backup lineman at the time, and then when we'd get to the goal line, I would come in as the extra tight end, and so we could run kind of either way. And there was this one pass called that I was supposed to block, and then at the end, if after I'd blocked it a couple seconds, then I was supposed to run out into the flat because I was an eligible guy. So sure enough, I blocked. I took off running out to the flat, and I looked around, and Jake Malone was looking right at me, throwing the ball to me. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" I mean, my hands were taped up just for being ready to play offensive line, and I caught the ball, but that linebacker absolutely waylaid me. And so then scored a touchdown. He hit me from behind, waylaid me. All the boys just gave me the biggest grief in the world about, dude, you didn't even get an inch. You didn't do anything. You went backwards. I said, yeah, but I fooled them so much. They couldn't believe I was running out for a pass that they had to hold the other tight end. And so we got a first down, and we ended up scoring. So we had a ton of laughs, and there was so many of them. But that was they give me a hard time about that all the time.
Did you ever teach the receivers how you got off the block so quick and with quick release?
No, 'cause I think I was running out there scared, and the other guy, I don't know if I released him or if he released me. He was going to make the sack or trying to make the sack, and I took off running, so it was probably a little bit of both.
I love it. You brought me back to my Uncle Rico moment here for you. Like my senior year, my quarterback that backed me up, he's the same age as me, never played, but he got into some tight end in our senior year, and we had a play action play called, and it was like he was like the last option, but there was not a chance in heck I was going through my reads. It was like missile lock. I threw into like 3 dudes. It almost got picked from like the 3-yard line, and my coach got so mad at me, and I told my boy, I was like, dude, how could I not? I had to go you. This is your chance. I had to let you make a play, and it didn't happen. But
that's funny.
Well, this has been fun, man. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom and your stories. And I know I got a lot out of this episode. If people want to learn more about you, if people want to follow you, what you're doing in the medical device sales world, what's the best place they can go about doing that?
You know what I do? The only social media I have is Twitter.
Okay.
And I'm so good at Twitter that I don't even know what it's at Todd Fordham 78. And so that's the only social media I have. Obviously, if anybody ever needed to call me or whatnot, they're more than welcome to call me. But I don't know how that is. And but I'm in Ponte Vedra, Florida. I'm a coach. I'm not hard to find. I'm right here, but I'd love to do this more because I think helping young men continue to figure out how to be better dads and husbands and just productive people in our society, our communities is truly a calling for me and what I love to do for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Well said, man. Well, I want to say thanks again for your time. I want to say thanks to our sponsors. Ironically, my college teammate of mine, Bob Cumming. Thanks for everything you're doing at Acme Homes. Some amazing homes, amazing new opportunities for people in the state of Washington. If you want to check those out, as well as anywhere in the United States. If you're looking for fresh seafood, dock to door, please check out Catch Sitka Seafoods. Assam and Mindy up a team in Sitka, Alaska. We'll ship you some of the most amazing fish. My daughter, Riley, who does not even like seafood, loves seafood now because of these guys, the great product they have. If you're a restaurant, you're looking to bring some fish to your restaurant, please give them a shout at catchsitkaseafoods.com. But with that, Todd, man, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor having you guest on the show.
Thank you, Casey.
All right, bye-bye.